Yo, crypto nation and mining family. Crypto nation and mining family. What's going on? Of course, like always, it's not financial advice. Yo, crypto nation and mining family. What's going on out there? Unless, like many people, I have been affected by the human malware virus. So last on the 1st, I lost my job. Yay! Pep Boys is now pulled out of the whole Chicagoland district, which basically might as well say they got the heck out of Dodge and left Illinois. So instead of sitting there and trying to help keep America employed, they're like, oh, we need to make sure our stock shareholders get their money, so we're going to close all the stores down. Awesome. So I would guess that Pep Boys is probably going to be one of many dominoes to fall during this pandemic. I think a lot of companies will be going belly up, and my heart goes out to anybody who loses their job like myself through this whole experience. So hopefully everybody bounces back without an issue. Certainly make sure you guys have plenty of that Bizity Bitcoin, and if not, like you're just stumbling on this for the first time, get yourself some Bitcoin, get yourself some gold. Not financial advice, it's just my recommendations to help hedge against what the virus is doing to everybody's currency and the way that they're just gonna start printing money at will. But that's another rant. I'll save that one for a different video during the week. How's that? But let's go on to something a little bit more interesting, at least to me. I love my hardware, guys. I absolutely love hardware. And it looks like Nvidia is starting to show the full product lineup. If you guys were paying attention, that the 1600 series had a whole ton of product SKUs in there. And they had only released a few of them. It looked like they had patented a whole bunch of SKUs, but it didn't look like they were planning on coming out with anything, at least right away. And my guess originally was that with the whole 10 series used a particular memory module. The memory module was the GDDR5 memory modules. That was last generation's memory. That was pretty much put on AMD and onto Nvidia. So very good, trusted memory module. I've got my 1080 Ti in my PC here. It's got 11 gigabytes of that wonderful GDDR5. But it looks like, and I've kind of hinted this before in some of my previous videos, that it looked like they were needing to get rid of all those memory modules. They weren't going to just throw them away. Nobody really would purchase them directly off of them as GDDR5, considering that the GDDR6 memory modules had come out. And you have the rollout of HBM2 memory and the HBM2E memory modules now. So you have even faster memory that is also out there that the GDDR series needs to be in competition with. So not that the GDDR5 memory modules are bad in any way, shape, or form. You don't see me running out and trying to upgrade my GPU to something that new. I myself do not see enough from like a gaming perspective to jump out and get this, unless the game that you're using is more dependent on, like, there were more of a title that was for AMD. Then you'll see that the memory modules make a little bit of a difference. Not a whole lot still. I'm just saying. So if you've got one of the high-end graphics cards already, like myself, I've got a 1080 Ti, I would not get enough of a benefit to stepping up. Would I wait a whole nother generation before grabbing something? Probably. If I was going to do something, I'd wait until the next generation comes out, and then I would wait for the 20 series to come down in pricing. I do like that the 2080 Ti. It's just for the price point, no thank you. You know. But it does look like Nvidia is proving me right time and time again on this one, on my little theory of that they needed to utilize the GDDR5 modules. And as soon as they were done with the GDDR5 modules, they would start releasing new GPUs again. And boy, was I right. I'll go ahead and pat myself on the back for my little theory. But it looks like MSI and Gigabyte are both coming out with new graphics cards for the 1650 series. Now they're still gonna be released with the same amount of memory on there. So it's not like you're getting more memory, you're just getting more efficient memory. And what that will do for somebody like myself, gaming-wise, like I said, you're not going to notice a difference. You're really not. The only way that you're going to notice a difference is if they do something with the core. But just based purely off of the memory modules, no, you are not getting a benefit from that. Okay, until you're doing video rendering, software editing, something like that gets dumped into the memory modules themselves that will utilize them. And the biggest way to do that is some kind of rendering. That's the real benefit, because it's going to start storing stuff on those memory modules, pulling it up, placing it in. It's just how the rendering software works. In the rendering software, you can kind of manipulate it to where it's more heavy on the GPU or a little bit lighter, depending on how good your GPU is. Knowing that if you start going a little lighter on that GPU, it's going to take a little longer to render, because it's not saving as much into those memory modules. So that's the big thing that you're going to see. And you'll also notice it a little bit with streaming. And just because it starts to pull from the GDDR6, so if I were to put a 2080 Ti into my computer, I would notice it whenever I go to edit my videos, or if I'm streaming. Is it going to be leaps and bounds difference over what I've got? No. I'm just saying. It's not leaps and bounds. It's not enough for me to, get up and try to order one of these in myself. I just think it was kind of funny that you're starting to see the rest of the product SKU lines actually being utilized, and it's for the reason that I was more thinking, which was just that they were blowing out some old inventory. Now that they're exhausted all the GDDR5 memory modules, now they can start releasing the GDDR6 and everything, and that's what you're starting to see. Now, the GDDR6 memory modules does do help with the core a little bit. So with the GDDR5, anytime you got memory, if your memory has a head limit, an upper end limit, your core can only go so fast until it basically loses its ratio to your memory modules. So you can actually get your core timing more too advanced for your memory modules. So there is the issue with that. So with them putting in the GDDR6, they can boost the GPUs a little bit more, and you'll see that with MSI. Their base clock is 1,410 megahertz. It's now able to boost to 1710, which that is, about a 7.5% gain over the original 1650 gaming series from MSI. So the memory module just allowed them to boost a little bit more. Now, people don't get confused with the boost range on this. That is a boost clock on the upper end. It's not going to hit and hold. For me, it's like sitting there and running amplifiers. Okay, so if an amplifier says I can hit 2,000 watts, well, that's not RMS. RMS will probably be 1,100 watts. So you're not going to hit that 2,000 watt. That 2,000 watt is the absolute peak performance that it's going to throw out of that amplifier. Well, it's going to be the same thing with boost performances on a graphics card. It's not going to sit there, hit it and peg, and just game there its whole life. Just not going to happen. It's just saying that it's got the headroom that it'll yank up there if needed. But I would be more curious to see what the overall running boost clock would actually sustain at. Probably be significantly less overall. The memory clock will allow you to go up to 12,000 megabytes per second, which that's going to be a little bit nicer. If you're mining Ethereum or Ethereum Classic, you will see a little bit of a performance boost off of it. Bonus. And like I said, if you're playing a game that was tailored using an AMD graphics card with a GDDR6 memory module in there, you will see a little bit of better graphics being displayed on there, just because of how AMD does their memory allocation, especially for games. It puts parts of the shaders and rendering into the memory. This way it doesn't have to re-render everything. It just pulls from memory and puts it to the screen, and then they change what's needed only. Now, all games pretty much do this. It's just that whenever it's done on an AMD card, it's done a little bit better. But unfortunately, there is not enough games out there taking advantage of it like that, because a lot of the market is saturated with Nvidia, and that's more core intensive. So they want to see that the Nvidia is real heavy with making sure the screen refresh rate's faster. This way, any kind of subtle changes that happens in the screen, you're going to see it before an AMD card, where an AMD card is trying to make the most bold and vibrant display that you can see farther than anybody else. So there are little trade-offs depending on the game, but for mining wise, considering that this is done with Nvidia drivers on there, you're not going to get the memory usage like AMD does, but you will see a little bit of performance while mining with a DAG file. So if it's memory dependent, you will see a bump on there. The card itself is still going to come with 4 gigabytes. It's like I said, you're not going to get 8 gigabytes or 6 gigabytes. It's still a 4 gigabyte, but now with GDDR6, which, and they did not do anything with the color scheme on their layout. You're not going to be able to look at the two cards and tell the difference. You're going to have to look at the specs on the card to make sure that you're getting a new one versus an old one. So if you are in the market to buying a new 1650, and because you like the price point on there and the performance is pretty decent, definitely make sure you're grabbing one of the new ones and not an old model. So buyer beware. And of course, Gigabyte's doing it too, and the Eagle is landed. I actually kind of like their little scheme on this one. I'd be wondering if the Eagle logo will be lighting up LED or if it's just there all the time. Can't tell if this card's powered up or not, but it kind of looks like for their higher end one, the Eagle, it looks like it's just there, not illuminated. But I'd be interested to see if when the card powers up that there's like LEDs behind there and it like really lights up. Unfortunately, like in my PC, the fans would be facing down, so I would never see this stuff anyway. Womp womp, right? Now, as much as you might, if you're a Gigabyte fan like myself, these have not been seen in the wild yet. They have been launched as a promo by Japanese Aurora's Twitter account, but nobody has seen one of these in the wild yet. So there's some interesting stuff with that. I don't think, like I said, like the MSI, this is going to be just the same thing. 4 gigabytes still, GDDR6. Maybe might get a little bit of a core boost on this because it's got a little faster memory module in there, so it will allow the card to no longer throttle itself at the same level as if it was on the GDDR5, which is fine. You know, you're not going to catch much performance bumps off of this. Will you see something in mining? More than likely. One thing I like about Gigabyte versus MSI is that, well, Gigabyte's cards will overall run cooler. So if you are grabbing one of these to put into your main PC, the Gigabytes won't throw off so much heat into your case to start thermal throttling your CPU on top of it. Depending on, you know, if you're mining in there, you want a card that's gonna be cooler. Otherwise, you're gonna have to pop off your side panel to allow the maximum amount of airflow into your case. So just kind of keep in mind with that one. And then for anybody who's an Intel person, not me myself, I prefer my Threadripper over Intel. Sorry, but Threadripper, they did it right. Even on a first gen, they did it right. But that's my biased opinion. Take it how you will. I like the Threadripper because it's more geared for a workstation, where Intel was trying to be like the best of all worlds. I'd rather put all the load of gaming on my graphics card and not the CPU, but that's just me. But it looks like Intel's Comet Lake is coming up at the end of the month. They will be still running on a 14 nanometer processor, so they did not go to the 10 nanometer or the 7 nanometer. Sorry guys, if you were waiting for that. They will have 3 variants of like the 10900. So there'll be like a 10900, a 10900K, and a 10900KF, and a 10900F. So there's 4 variants. I'm sorry, and looks like their high side wattage draw will be 125 watts. So I mean, some of the specs that have come out are pretty much the same. They're looking at their 10900s to be able to boost up to 5.3 gigahertz, guys. So, but that's only on the K series, guys. So you'll have the 10900, which will be just your basic entry level to the i9 10900. Then you'll have your F. The F variant means that there is no built-in graphics on it. Not bad, especially considering I never recommend anybody ever to use internal graphics on it. They are horrible at best. That's why there is a discrete graphics card market out there. I'm just saying, if you can't afford a GPU, then I understand. Certainly get the 10900 or the 10900K. Anything that has an F signification after it will not have video to go along with it, guys. So kind of keep in mind, if you're looking for internal graphics cards, make sure it does not have an F at the end of the product line name. So then you have your K series. If you're unfamiliar with the Intel K series, that is their unlocked variant. So you'll be able to do the heavier overclockings on them. They would be considered binned chips. And then you also have the KF, which is non-internal graphics unlocked. So it's got none of the garbage you don't need in there, and it's letting you do whatever you need to do with it. I like the, if it was me, I'd be going after the KF series, just because I don't need the internal built-in graphics on there. That's just one less thing generating heat inside of it. I would be curious to know if the F series is just a failed video portion of it, that they just disabled it in the chip, and the video is still there underneath the hood, just not on, right? I'd be really curious to see somebody delid that and see if the module for video is gone. And then being that it's an unlocked, you know, it's no video and it's binned, so they're like, yep, do whatever you want with it. Are you getting a huge boost to go into the KF? No. But if you're sitting there trying to buy something new, and you would like to, you're just trying to upgrade your PC, this would be the way that I would go if I was trying to buy something now. Unfortunately, this may take you a hot minute to get. I had told everybody before this human malware virus started coming out that you might want to consider, if you're needing to make a computer, do it now. Because now at this point you can be waiting a month or two before you even get your product now, and that's if you can get it out of the country it's coming from. So if you're building a PC here in the United States, make sure the parts are here locally, because at least that way you're only waiting a month and a half. If you're using Amazon, the computer parts are going to be a non-essential, so it's going to take you a little while to get some of the parts. Some things you'll be able to get really quickly. They got stuff categorized really weird. But if they deem it as not as an essential item, it will take you at least a month to get your stuff in. With DCA Adventure, we're going to be doing a rig frame build off of the Veta first gen style rig frames, the 6 GPUs. And we just ordered up one for myself because we're supposed to have it new in the box for the competition. Well, ordering that bad boy from Amazon, which was the cheapest way to do it, but I'm not going to see the rig frame until the 25th. So that's just something that I've just ordered, and I already know that's local here in the United States. And it's still going to take a month before I get it because it's on the low on the priority list. Hospital masks, N95 masks, PPE, the personal protection equipment. That stuff's going to be on the high priority. Trying to get the equipment that the doctors and nurses need to where the equipment needs to go. That is on priority right now. Which, dude, I totally get it. Then the medical field, they are on the front lines of all this human malware virus garbage. So you just kind of got to roll with the flow on this one. It's out of your control. But I do know some people that did get the 10900s whenever they first came out, and they were easily able to boost those things up to 5 gigahertz. Over my Threadripper, that's huge. I can only get my Threadripper to boost up to like 4 gigahertz, but it generates some serious heat on there. If I was going to keep it at the 4 gigahertz, I would definitely want to do a custom water loop on this thing, just to help mitigate the heat that's being generated out of this bad boy. And it performs very nicely. When it's mining Monero at 4 gigahertz, I get a little over 7,000 hash a second. that's at the same level as the 1920X. I've got the 1900X. So the 1920X, I'm thinking if I can sit there and play with it the same way I've got it here, I could probably get that 1900X to about 7,500 hash a second to probably 8,000 hash a second. So I can get the 1900X to hit pretty nicely on there, but again, it's only 4 gigahertz, but man, it does it really nicely. I've got a higher thread count, so my CPU is able to do more processing than the Intel's, and that's some of the reasons why Intel is horrible at mining Monero, is that it needs more data lanes to be able to communicate with your RAM to the CPU, and Intel tries to rely dominated on the CPU itself. So little subtle differences. And for mining Monero, it makes the Intel is just not worth it. Now, if you're getting it for personal use, guys, by all means, you know, I won't stop you. Especially if you're an avid gamer, you know, I can see the point of getting the Intel lineup on there, but at the price point, the i9 1090KF, I probably would say, I mean, this is just my guess, I could be wrong, but I would guess that the price point of the 10900KF is going to be at the same price point as the 3990X Threadripper. So price point comparison, Threadripper, the 1900X, dominates right now. There is no better CPU on the market. That's my opinion, though. If you guys got any other experiences, definitely fillet me down in the comments down below, guys. But you can see that the 10900, whenever they were first launched, that was a 65 watt target on there. And now with the newer ones, they've boosted it up to 125 watts, but of course they are unlocked. So you would expect that if I can boost it further and overclock it harder, it should have a higher wattage target point. Now, if you're trying to overclock these things to try to get the game better, or you're wanting to see what it does mining Monero, you're going to want to make sure that you've got a motherboard that will also support the amount of wattage that you can put through chipset. Not all motherboards are equal. So if you guys want me to do a little description on my thoughts on motherboards, certainly drop some comments in down below. I always check that stuff, guys, and there isn't enough of you guys making comments. So, you know, if you guys start writing some questions down, it helps me make some awesome content for all of you guys. So with that being said, guys, you guys got any comments or questions about anything that I'd covered here, certainly drop the comments in down below. If there's anything that you would like me to just kind of go over and give my viewpoint on, let me know in a comment down below of what your questions really are, what products you'd like me to review myself, because I don't have a job now, so I can actually concentrate on producing content for my channel now. I don't have work in the way, so it's time to go full time, right? See how this works. With that, guys, definitely smash that Lizzie like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, share this video with at least one other person. Helps me grow my channel out to all of you awesome people out there. And with that, I'll definitely see you all on the next one. Peace.